Hi guys, welcome to the fourth part to my pink holiday series. In this video we are learning how to paint this cute little cat with a fallen Christmas tree, some baubles, and a string of lights at the top. If you're looking for the base drawing for this video, it is available through my website. When you sign up for my newsletters, you will get the base drawings via emails that are sent out typically twice a week. This will only be available for the month of December, so make sure you hop on and avail of the base drawings for these. In addition, you can also get them via my Patreon. It's available to everyone, all my patrons who are on there. And when you sign up for these emails, you will also get the base drawing for the previous 3 videos, and they will be listed there just to make it more convenient for you guys in case you're doing this whole series with me. All right, that's how you get the drawings. And I always say, if you like a good challenge and you want to challenge yourself to do a drawing, because these are fairly easy to do, they're nothing super out there, go ahead and do it. I think it'll be fabulous. All right. Before we begin with the supplies listed here, I want to quickly mention, please, if you like videos like this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as it really does help my channel grow and I am able to continue making videos like this or planning for videos like this for you guys. So here's all the items we're using, or supplies that I've used to create this little guy here. We're starting off with the DECOBRUSH metallic permanent markers by Karin. I've got it in a violet and I have it in a pink and also a green. My set of Rowney 48 Aquafine watercolors. Specifically, we're using the Payne's Gray, which is going to be a dominant color for our cute little cat. Then for our pinks, we're using quinacridone magenta combined with a little bit of permanent mauve. I think it's beautiful together. For our greens and our tree, we're dominantly using the Hooker's green mixed in with sepia hue, and then a little bit of the sap green because it's a nice fresh green to kind of have blobs of light green happening. Last but not least, I'm using the yellow ochre for the tops of our baubles. For brushes, I'm using 3 brushes, all of them Princeton, because you all know I'm a Princeton ambassador and I love their brushes. Princeton Neptune number 6, Princeton Velvetouch number 4, and then the Princeton Round Heritage. Sorry, 0. It's the number 0. Number 0. This brush is so handy for the tiny details along the cat tail, the whiskers, the tassels, the little wire attached to our cute little lights, all that good stuff. And then last but not least, I have a palette onto the side, which I may or may not use, or used very minimal, really. And this palette is, because I get tons of questions about this palette all the time. This palette is from Indigo. It was a gift, so I don't really know the link to it, but everything else is linked in the description below, so feel free to check those out. And oh, paper, I keep forgetting paper. This is Etchr watercolor paper, wood pulp, 100% cotton. Check it out. So the first thing we're going to do is, using our number 6, we're going to tackle dampening the head of this cute little cat, or fat cat. And I'm going to keep my number 4 handy because we're going to use our, not sepia, our Payne's Gray right here to get a nice transition from dark, starting with the head, and then going light at the bottom. We are deliberately going to be omitting the scarf area so we don't get, so we can keep that clear for the color that we have coming for it. So here we go. You may choose to do 2 different options. This is where I'm giving you guys options. You can choose to keep the whole, make the whole cat black with that dark to light gradient happening. And by black, I mean using the Payne's Gray. Or you can choose to add water like I'm doing right now well, both scenarios, you'd add a base of water and then take in your number 4 and just dab in black, or sorry, Payne's gray. I keep saying black. So now I'm getting my Payne's gray and I'm going to start from the top here and then allow it to just bleed into my little cat. I'm going to add some at the bottom here as well. Now you'll get areas like this that are looking like they're kind of clouding up and not moving too much, and that's mainly because you've got a lot of water pooling, and sometimes that's nice because you're going to get a really pretty dried up effect happening. But if you want a really intense transition, you need to make sure that you don't have too much water happening or pooling here. I'm kind of giving my cat ears a little more organic shape. Went a bit much over here on the right one. I don't want to add too much. And so now at this point, if you want to just move your color around just to get a more realistic sort of feel for your cat, you can. So that's what I did, and this is the result I got. Now we're gonna get, before this dries up, I'm gonna get my 0, and using just water or just a clean brush, I'm going to lightly add little strokes, kind of starting from the area where it's damp and extending it downward. Kind of very light, because you want thin lines, and this is to mimic fur on our cute little cat. So for the ears, I'm not going crazy. I'm just doing a little bit, not so much at the top of the head, a little bit more on these here as well. And just giving him some, making him a little fuzzy cat, really. Okay, so this is what we have. And now we are going to tackle the lower half. So for the lower half, same deal or idea. So I'm going to dampen this area. I'm extending the bottom of this cat a little bit more so I get more of a rounded sort of feel to it. Making sure, this time I'm going to make sure I don't have too much pooling. So this is where your paper towel comes in handy. Feel free to use your paper towel and press off any water, or just lightly dab, not press off actually. If you press off the water, you're going to lose all your smooth transitions when you add your color. So it's all about finding that sweet spot of just the right amount of dampness or wetness to your paper. Okay, so I think I'm looking sideways against the light and I'm seeing things are good. So I'm going to get some Payne's gray using my number 4. And I'm starting off here. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing to watch, and even more satisfying of a feel when you're doing it. So I'm gonna extend it downward here, drop some in here, and feel free to kind of add stripes if you want on the back. So I started dark over there because to sort of indicate shadow below the our scarf. And now, same deal. We're taking our number 1. Actually, before we do that, I should have added more of a darker feel here. Just adding and we're going to transition this soon enough. So I'm going to give it some time, but here we go. Taking our brush, we're going to lightly, I'm not tackling the area where the scarf is because we're going to be okay there. And you need to make sure you do this on time because the longer you let it dry, you will find yourself getting like a nice thick line. Not a nice thick line, we don't want the line. I want a nice transition where it looks like I laid the color down and I got these little jabbies to indicate fur right away. Okay, so that's good enough. It's cute. Our cat's coming along quite nicely. And then I mentioned doing the tail. Actually, before we do the tail, I'm going to drop in a little bit of like pink in our cat. So I've taken some of the quinacridone magenta. I'm just dropping a little bit in here and there. I just want some semblance of pink happening in our cat. All right, so now we're doing the tail. So I'm gonna extend this out. If you don't quite like the shape of the tail, feel free to use or switch it around a bit. I'm kind of going to modify mine just a little bit. And here's what I'm doing. I know it's very thin right now, but I'm gonna go ahead, get that Payne's Gray. And here's what we are doing. We're going to add that color in here, and then we're going to make this tail a lot thicker. So here we go, my little line of Payne's Gray. And then dipping my brush in water, I'm going to extend and create these little jabs, a lot bigger in comparison to the side of the cat. Switching to get my nice thin strokes using the number zero. And I want nice thick, fading off into a light color. So I'm extending it a lot and really using the color to kind of drag it out. Blending in some over there. Just gonna get a little bit of that black, adding it in here in between. You want to get a little bit of nice damp stuff happening, especially like in certain key areas, just to kind of give it that nice break. And remember, this is your cat. Make it whatever, like if you don't want this nice bushy tail, go ahead and do the thin tail that I had drawn in. But that was literally just for us to have an idea of where the tail would be. However, I do encourage that you do the cat that you like. I love the cats like this because growing up, when we used to vacation as a family, our neighbor had the area where we vacation. Our neighbor had this cat, and that was the first time I saw a cat like this with a beautiful bushy tail. And I was like, that's so pretty. So I've got a nostalgic feeling towards cats with bushy tails, I guess you could say. Okay, so this is good. I just want to spread out this color a bit more using this brush. And again, like I said, this is just me. I just wanted to have a beautiful gradual light to dark. And there we go. Okay, so I'm liking this. I like how this has turned out. Let us now move on to doing our scarf. So for the scarf, I've decided you can, again, you've got two choices. You can keep it solid or you can add some color to it. So I am going to, initially I wanted to make it black and white, but our cat's like a gray. So let's make this like a pink and white. So what I'm going to do is first give it a light wash of gray just in certain areas. So I'm mixing some of the gray at the top, like really watering it down, like where it's 10% color or maybe even 5% color. And I just want to give certain highlights on here for the, to kind of indicate like a blend and such. Not a blend, sorry, shadow and fold areas and whatnot. And now that I have that, I'm just going to lightly blend that in so it's like a smooth transition. Perfect. And once this is dried up, we're then going to go in with our quinacridone magenta. So let that dry. In the meantime, we can tackle our fallen tree. If you didn't notice that there is a fallen tree, this is a fallen tree, y'all. So what we're going to do is use our greens along with the sepia that I have put aside for this. So we've got, sorry, this is Payne's Gray, sepia hue, hooker's green, and sap green. So sap green is a really pretty light green color. So we're going to first do, not the sap green, we're going to first do the hooker's green mixed in with some of the sepia. So I'm going to mix some of that onto the side right there, and I want a very watered down version of this. You will notice as you're doing this painting with me that the strokes that we're using are very similar to what we have done with the cat. So again, it gives you a lot of practice getting your consistencies together when it comes to watercolor and getting certain effects. So feel free to use the number 4 if you're more comfortable using that to get nice thin strokes for our tree. I'm going to start off here and then lightly kind of add, this is the very tip of it, so I'm going to lightly. Now this base over here is supposed to be flat because it's fallen, and so I'm not going to fixate too much on the shape there, but we're focusing more on the nice little curvy lines happening for the top. And what I'm doing is trying to make sure I'm leaving a lot of white space, and the base is not as much because it's kind of all flat together. So you're kind of losing that beautiful tree shape. But at the top, we've got some great shape happening. And so lots of white space, kind of very similar to what we did with the tail and also the back of the cat. Okay, so this is the general idea, and this is where we're going to get more color and drop that in here. So lots at the bottom, because you remember I said this is where it is fallen and squished, and so you're not getting to see a whole lot of the detailing here. But still do try and leave as much white space as you can over here with a little bit of curvature to show your tree, the leaves, just a little bit, maybe towards the end or something like that. Now that we have this, I'm going to get some of our sap green to get some nice light greens happening in here. I just love this beautiful light green against the pinks and such that we have. I think it goes so well with it. Also a great transition into showing lighter bits in your tree. So you can leave it as such or just add a little bit more of your darker green. So I've actually mixed a little bit of light green in there, but just throwing some more of that in. So we get a beautiful transition of dark to light, and I'm literally just dabbing these colors, allowing it to sort of just get into the tree and blend in. So fixating and dabbing quite a bit of color at the bottom. And then we're going to do a little bit of a splatter. I'm trying to get the splatter mainly at the top of the tree, just to sort of give it that nice, oh, this just fell down sort of thing. And you can add some at the bottom too. And then just to kind of indicate some shadow, actually let's hold off the shadow at the very, very end. For now, this is good. Let me get a little bit of the sap. So now let's do, there's a bit too much definition happening here, so I'm just going to blend in some of the color. Adding in some brown bits. And in fact, make sure you add a little bit of the pink as well, right when it's damp, just to get a nice flow happening. Before things dry off. So we've got some pink happening in there, which is great. Feel free to add more if you want to really intensify the pink look. Okay, so that's that. Now let's tackle our lights. And then, actually, no, before the lights, let's do the scarf, because this needs to dry up and I don't want you guys doing this. So allow that to dry up a little bit. Let me just take off some of the green that fell on our cat. Although I don't mind it there, really. Okay, so let's take some of the quinacridone magenta. Oops, almost dropped my brush. I'm going to get some color directly from here. And you can, again, use your number 4 if you want, and just paint in stripes. So I'm getting color directly from here, lightly painting over this. This is wet on dry, with the exception of this area here that was damp, and so it's kind of bleeding into my cat. But we want to keep this very loose, and so if you're getting some of that and you like what that is doing and how it's looking, leave it in. So I have a little bit of bleeding happening into my cat. And because it's happening all over, I'm just taking my paper towel and I'm dabbing just at the bottom there. Now, because it's Payne's gray, you're not able to see it unless you tilt your head off to the side. So I guess those areas were a little bit damp, and that's why they are kind of spreading out. But I like that loose, whimsical look, so I'm not going to be painting over the stripes. I'm just going to add dabs of more prominent looking pink to this, just to sort of really intensify that pink in certain areas of this. And then we are doing our pink here. So same idea. If your pink is really intense, you will end up covering a lot of the the grays. So what I'm actually doing is trying to add a little bit of sepia into my pink before I drop these stripes over here, especially where they're connected to the like attaching right here, just to kind of give it more of that shadowy look. Same thing here. Really loose, fun. We're not fixating too much on making sure it's perfect. Perfection is overrated when it comes to art. That's my opinion, my humble opinion. Art is meant to be fun, liberating, and an expression of the artist. And this is why we all have different styles, and you can never really compare your art to someone else's. Just, yeah. Okay, so that's that. It's looking very cute. I like it. So things are fairly dried up now, so let's get to doing our little baubles first. The little whiskers, the little tassels on our cute little scarf, and we go from there. I'm almost thinking, like, for the tassels and maybe even the baubles or even the lights, you could use some metallics, which would work out really well, or you can use the Karin markers. I think I'm going to use the Karin markers, especially for the lights, just because it'll make things that much easier and more fun, keeping in with the whole theme that we've been going with so far. So I think I'll do the string in black, and I'm just going to alternate between my purple, my pink, and maybe green. I'm not sure. I think maybe just the purple and the pink to keep our whole pink theme happening. So here we go. So I've got my pink, and I'm just gonna paint that in. And what I'm doing is leaving a little bit of white space to kind of show some glisten, or just to keep that whole loose style happening. All right, so that's that. Let's get some of the purple in here. Beautiful. I also feel like I could just do a little bit of a dab and then take my brush and just extend the purple. It's such a potent color and gives you such pretty results with very subtle metallic action happening, really. Okay, so we've done those. For our little baubles at the bottom, I'm going to do a slightly different thing, but let us first do our string here. So I'm going to get the Payne's Gray right here, and using the number 0 brush, we are going to very lightly graze and extend all around. Perfect. That's that. So let's turn it around and see what that looks like. Very cute. So this area almost gives us some space to do some writing, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or whatever floats your boat, really. All right, next we're doing our baubles, and then we will proceed on to doing shadow bits and our tassels and such, and then we're done. So for the baubles, I have 2 additional colors, which I think would look cute, but I know this is the pink series, so I'm almost wondering, should we just sort of keep it pink and purple and go along with that theme? So I think making this decision on the spot here that I will keep it pink. Also because they're so tiny, I think it'll just pop really nicely. So I've got 2 different colors. I've got permanent mauve, which is obviously a purple, and then I've got the quinacridone magenta. I think they blend beautifully. So that's what we're gonna do. And I should zoom in. We're zoomed in and we are ready to paint. So I'm gonna use that whole tag team using 2 brushes, and I'm going to get some of that pink on my brush here. Let's get one happening here. Remember that whole idea of leaving a little bit of white space? Let's do that. I'm getting some pink directly from that color cake and just spreading it on that one side, and then allowing the color to sort of move. If it needs a little bit of help where you kind of just move the paper around, do that. Mine is not moving, in which case just go ahead and paint the other end and you should be fine. Leave that little bit of white space because it gives you that nice little glisten. This point, you can even throw in a little bit of purple. I'm just going to dab some at the top here. And then we're going to go on and do the next one right here. I've kind of covered this whole area with water. If you want to leave that nice little blob of color, white, you need to make sure your area is not covered with water. Leave a little bit of space that has no water. Then this way the watercolor doesn't seep in there. I love how that's turned out. And I'm going to drop in some of the pink at the top or bottom, whatever you want to call it, just like so, and then leave that kind of glisten. Beautiful. Okay, dropping in more pink here and slightly making this bigger. I love that dark purple action happening here. I think it's super pretty. Very, very cute. Okay, next one is here. And same idea. I think these are looking nice and purpley. So I'm going to try and make this dominantly pink. But I have purple on my brush too, so what I'm going to do is wash this off and get that pink and drop it in. Beautiful. Am I the only one that sort of paints and then when I like results I go beautiful, or do you guys also do that for your work? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so this is done. We're going to allow this to dry a bit, and then I'm going to use, I was thinking of using metallics for the tops of these, but I'm almost thinking maybe let's just keep things native to regular watercolor, and maybe I'll just use the yellow ochre. But feel free to use metallics if you are doing this for a card and you want to make this a little extra cute and shiny. Okay, so it's now time to do our tassels and little whiskers, and for that I'm going to be using the 0 I keep saying number 0. I'm going to get some color directly from my color cake. And feel free to have your tassels be like little tiny circles if you want to do that, or if you want to have little tiny circles and then the tassels coming out from it. Whatever floats your boat, really. So I'll start off with doing the whiskers because I'm a little bit undecided if I want to make the tassels black or gray, sorry. I don't know why I did an additional one, but I wasn't quite liking how that one turned out. So let's just add one more. There we go. Tassels are done. I got a little bit of overlap here, so I'm just going to blend that in. Perfect. We are done with our tassels. Let's do our, sorry, not tassels, whiskers. Ugh. Now I'm doing the tassels. So what I'm doing is blending some of the Payne's Gray on my palette to really water it down. I don't want it to be black. And so using this, I'm going to create light strokes for our scarf tassels. Nothing too complicated, just fun. And I'm just also adding a little bit of an additional layer of color at the top to kind of give us that nice smooth transition. Otherwise it looks pretty, what's the word? Pretty flat if we don't. And just lightly grazing to get our tassels in, okay? Getting more color and doing the same thing that I did over there, just adding a little bit of darker hues happening at the top of our tassels. Adding some shadowy elements along here on our scarf as well. And if you want to add a little bit of that happening just where it meets the body of the cat, that is also helpful. Kind of giving us some really nice outlines here. Just really bumps everything up a lot. Okay, so last but not least, sorry, this is not last but not least. This is second last but not least. Is, let me just finish this part and I will tell you, finish my thought, is the little shadow bits for our baubles. So I'm just kind of outlining these areas here. And then once I do that, just taking water, washing off my brush, taking water and kind of smoothing out the gray. Just a very light shadow. Now, if you want to go in once that is done and just sort of drop in more gray right where it's touching the bauble, it gives you a nice blend. So do that. Do it for the other two, and I'm going to be right back. So this is what our baubles ended up looking like. That's perfect. So now we're going to do our, I promise, this is the last bit. Adding some of the yellow ochre to the tops of our baubles ever so lightly. You can mix a little bit of this with sepia if you wish, just to sort of get some nice lights and darks happening. Or, like I mentioned earlier on in the video, you can totally use metallic for this part, just to sort of make your end results a little extra sparkly. Get some of that sepia right here, dab it in. Because it's so tiny, I'm just sort of adding little dabs of color. Perfect. And so our little baubles are done. Let's zoom out. All right, so this is what it looks like now that we're zoomed out. Feel free to add more rows of lights if you would like to have maybe like one coming from here, one coming from there, or keep it simple and just do your wording at the top in between the lights and the cat. I want this scene to be a little bit more pink. So what I'm doing is I'm going to get my big brush, the blooms, and I'm going to dampen this area here at the top. Of the cat. And I'm very clearly leaving some white space in between because I'm very loosely doing this dampening bit here. And you'll see exactly why. Because we're going to take our number 6 and I'm going to do a splatter of pink. So here we go. I've got my number 6. I have my pink. And I'm just splattering to get that beautiful bloom happening in the atmosphere. Now it's fine if there's some solid little bits around. I think it's cute. This is where we tie things in with our pink theme. I'm also going to get a little bit of the gray, and I'm going to get some splatter happening just around here, around the cat, mainly at the bottom. Oh, and we didn't do a shadow for the cat, but you totally can. And I think I will do that after the video is done. But it's the same concept that we used for our baubles. Okay. I'm going to get some down here as well. And at this point, if you want to add some green at the bottom, you can, or if you just want to intensify the pink even more at the top. There's a lot of options for you here. You can even sort of blend in some of the pink happening here, so it's not abrupt. So it looks like a dream sequence almost. Perfect. We don't want that going all the way down here, so that's okay. Right, so this is what the end result looks like. I tried to do a little bit of shadow before I remembered that our cat is also gray, so it's a very fine line between the gray fur and the shadow. So I sort of left it loose and light like this. And yeah, this is what it looks like. I might go ahead and add some calligraphy or some writing in there. I think it's the perfect spot. That pink cloud really makes it perfect, like you're just waiting for a message to show up there. So that's it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments what you thought. make sure to hit that like button and subscribe button, as it really does help my channel grow. And if you're looking for the base drawing for the cat, this base drawing is only available through email, so make sure you've signed up for my newsletters on my website. If you end up doing this video and painting this for a card or for anything else, please make sure to tag me on social media. I would love to see how your work turned out. You can follow me on Instagram, or feel free to join the Facebook group and share it so we're all inspired by your work. Thanks, guys.